You know, for an album called Changes, Justin Bieber and his production team seem wholly unwilling to commit to any sort of change from his pre-established style. So hi and welcome back to me talking about whatever I want. Today I want to talk about Justin Bieber's new album and why it's bad and how I don't like it. And how honestly it kind of represents a larger issue that I think deep down I've always had with Justin Bieber. But first, of course, I'd like to do my comment shout out from my last video. This comment shout out goes to Trash Artist, who says, haven't even watched the video yet, but I already agree. Honestly, that's the mindset I like to see. And I'm sure that's the exact mindset that every Justin Bieber stan who clicked into this video is going to watch it with. Now, the main reason I wanted to talk about his new album Changes is because, let's be honest, Justin Bieber forced this album on us. You've already watched all the videos about Yummy and how much of a mess that was. In fact, my very first video on this channel was just me ranting about Yummy and how much I disliked not only the song, but how Justin Bieber was promoting it. And at the end of that song, I made a very specific prediction. If Yummy is this bad and he's pushing it so hard, it's safe to assume this is kind of like the best he has to offer. This album is going to be trash, so don't worry, I will be talking about it. So like, I don't want to say I told you so, but like, how about you just watch and find out? Also, can we talk about how clear my audio is and how clear this picture is? I got this new setup just for y'all because, let's be honest, it's time. Anyway, Justin Bieber, Changes, 17 tracks, multiple features, let's go. Alright, so track 1 is called All Around Me, and I have to be honest, that was a beautiful vocal performance by Justin Bieber. No sarcasm, no jokes. It actually reminds me of Ariana Grande's song Raindrops and Angel Cry. It serves the same function. It's kind of like an introduction to Ariana Grande's vocals that are going to be on her album Sweetener. Oh, she cried. Sadly, the album was still trash, but I blame Pharrell for that one. But yeah, this song does the same for Justin. It kind of introduces his new and improved vocals, I'd almost say. He sounds very clean and polished and clear. I need you all around me. I actually think the song itself is pretty. It has a lot of really nice sentiments. Like he says, from my home to the road, I'll make sure you're comfortable. I'll make sure we're comfortable. Our love's unconditional. That's pretty. And it actually has like a really catchy delivery. He's kind of like da 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 da. I'll make sure you're comfortable. Like it really got stuck in my head the moment I heard it, but I'm not even mad. I like it. Besides the very satisfying vocal delivery, there's a lot of like reverb on the tracks and slight reverb on his vocals. So like on the tracks, we get stuff like this. And on his vocals, it's just a bit more like this. Honestly, it creates this very airy, floaty, ethereal vibe, and it works. Justin's performance was by far the highlight of this track though. He's going in and out of falsetto effortlessly, and what surprised me though was that he actually experiments with some lower tones, which we don't typically hear from Justin Bieber. Towards the end, he actually goes really low. Oh, yeah. I was really surprised not only to hear that in the first place, but just at how good it sounds. It's like more of a mature sound. But yeah, it has a very glossy acoustic sound thanks to the strings all throughout the track. The structure of the song is kind of aimless, you know, it sounds slightly like stream of consciousness, kind of like Justin's trying to figure it out, which works. Overall, this is a great song, very fitting for an intro, and it made me excited to hear the rest. And there's a baby at the end, so honestly, why not? Habitual, yeah. All right, here we have the song Habitual, and it's terrible. So disappointing. Like, just how are you gonna follow up such a good song with Habitual? First of all, it's on this really boring trap beat, and look, I'm not one of those people who's like, this song has a trap beat. It's the worst thing this artist has ever put out in their entire life. No, I typically tend to like trap instrumentals, but this one is just boring. It's like so clean, so pristine. Like the synth is really nice actually, this kind of dun 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 dun, but it's throughout the entire track. It's so repetitive. It's really sad to hear such a song that remains stylistically identical throughout the whole thing after such like an experimental sound on the first track. Also, the lyrics were so unremarkable that I don't remember them, and like I just listened to it, so when you come around me. All right, next up we have Come Around Me, which that title is disgusting. Like, I hated saying that just now. When I first heard it, my mind went to a place and I was like, no, that can't be it. But then you listen to the lyrics and you realize, oh yeah, no, he means exactly what it sounds like. Also, it's called Come Around Me, but the first title's called All Around Me, so like Why do you have All Around Me and Come Around Me on the same album? That's just weird. The lyrics on this track, besides just the title, are so awkward. Like, there's this one part where he's like, next thing I know, you're on top of me. Okay with this. Call that a win-win. Like, is this a Wattpad story? Are you in high school? Also, the beat of this song is identical to the previous track. Now, I did think there was some nice wordplay at the end where he's kind of like expeditiously, aggressively. Like, shout out to using the word expeditiously in the song and not having it sound pretentious. I actually really like that. And here's the thing, like, listen to how boring this instrumental is. But then listen to what they do with the instrumental at the end. That was so much more soulful and pretty than... Why didn't you... Next. These are my only intentions. Intentions by Quavo is bad. I don't personally think it's a good song. I don't like it. Right off the bat, it's stylistically very similar to Yummy, which... it's automatically a problem. And also, the lyrics to the song are just 100% filler lyrics. Like, if you read them, you're not going to think Justin Bieber singing this. Anybody could have sang this. It's much more reminiscent of something you'd find from, like, a random SoundCloud rapper than Justin Bieber. Here on this track, we have the first feature on the album from Quavo, who is, he's boring on this track. Then again, I'm quite biased because I always find him boring. But here in particular, it's just he didn't need to be there. Also, his introductory ad-libs were so bad. He's like, whip it, asset. What kind of ad-lib is asset? Also, this is just weird, but the initial flow Quavo leads into with his feature, he has this kind of trailing off flow. He's like, nah, 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 nah. And I couldn't help but think of Bobby Burns' verse on Ugly, actually. You don't need mentions. Honestly, I doubt Bobby Burns is at the top of Quavo's inspiration list or anyone's inspiration list for that matter. But they really did sound similar to me. I just thought that was funny. But yeah, boring track, unnecessary feature. Next. What is there to say about the song that hasn't been said already? It's extremely repetitive, it barely has any lyrics, they say yummy entirely too often. The beat is indistinguishable from the first two songs, and here's the issue. My initial listens to Yummy when it came out before the album was that, well, hey, at least the beat is nice. But now, hearing how the beat is nice, but also identical to the previous, 3 songs now? With the lack of interest I now have in the beat, the song truly has no redeeming qualities. Also, I just have to point out, I hate the part where he says, I'm elated that you are my lady. That's just a bad line. I'm available. Here we have the song Available. The instrumental to this song is really cool. It's like so joyful. It's kind of like that ba 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 ba. Like it reminds me of classic promotional music actually. Also, Justin Bieber hits these like weird high notes later into the song. He's like, I'm available. I'm available. It's like, it sounds stupid, but like in a good way. I laughed when I heard it, but I enjoyed it. Like I didn't think he sounded bad. I like that he was kind of like experimenting with like a more fun delivery. So yeah, as much as I loved his vocals and the instrumental, my guy, we need to talk about those lyrics. This song is so like weirdly desperate. Like sure, if you listen to it in context with like the lyrics and all that, it just sounds like your typical radio R&B pop song. But if you just look at the lyrics by themselves, holy crap. I get frustrated when you're busy. Lately, that's been more than often, baby. What is this? It's like, do you even miss me? Feeling less than priority. You got me convinced that I'm the only one tripping in my head. Because in reality, you live in my bed. I'm supposed to hold on to everything you said. Yes or no question. Don't leave it unread. Are you available? Are you available now? Oh, here I am. Are you available? Just tell me yeah, because for you, I am. You know I am. Don't mean to sound desperate, but you made it like this. Say I'm number 1 on your to-do list. Are you available? Like I'm available? Like I'm calling the police. Forever, ever, ever. Forever, featuring Post Malone and Clever. Heh, rhyme. Boring beat once again. And by the way, it sounds like he ran out of lyrics through the chorus. He's like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, you know you can sing words during that part and the song would still work, right? As for Post Malone's feature, for some reason he's drowning in like even more auto-tune than usual. Like, I mean, I'm used to hearing him just slathered in auto-tune, but for some reason towards the end of his verse, he actually sounded like a literal robot. It's weird because I like Post Malone. I like that auto-tune sound, but that didn't sound good to me. That just sounded like too much. Next in the song was the verse from Clever, and I must say this feature in this song is actually my first time ever even hearing of this artist. I do not know who Clever was. I don't like him though. Like, obviously I would have to go listen to his real music before I make a serious judgment, but my snap judgment is that he sounds awful. He sounds like a goat. Not like, you know, ooh, the greatest of all time. No, like the animal. The roof is gone as we're driving out the private gate. This man said gay. He said gay. He's a goat. He sounds like that Vine of Krish, kind of mimicking how indie girl singers sound.
Welcome to my kitchen. We have bananas and avocado. When I leave, it's Bobby now. It's just never body long.
It was not a pleasant listening experience, and overall it was just very forgettable. Except for Clever. I'm never going to forget his performance because I spent the entire time just laughing at how much he sounds like an indie goat.
Keep running over me with your love.
Next up, we have Running Over featuring Lil Dicky. The instrumental on this track is perfect. It's perfection. It's one of the best beats I've heard this year. It has like this running energy, and it's very video gamey. Like, listen to it. Also, when that bass kicks in,
we were emotionally pending.
it was like boom, 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 boom. Yes. Also, they bring in this like organic, distorted guitar kind of sound at about a minute in.
Look out, watch out, got me on the defense.
It's kind of like wah, 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 wah. Like, it sounds really cool. It's super cool. There's also this part where like, instead of stopping the beat, they kind of do this 4-count thing, very reminiscent of something you'd find at the beginning of a Pharrell song. Bump, 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 bump.
Looking like it's turning into something.
It's cool. That being said, the song is ruined because Lil Dicky just sounds terrible. Lil Dicky is not a bad artist, like, at all. Not bad. But he's very unique, I would say, in his like rambling delivery. So Lil Dicky works for Lil Dicky, but he did not work in this Justin Bieber track. His lyrics were very awkward and ill-fitting. Like, some of the lyrics that he spat were just like, ooh, take those back.
Post intercourse when you walk by. More buns than a shop, right?
No. Why?
How are you so hot and cute? I want to make a language up with you.
A language. This beat was so polished and Justin was so by the book, which of course is both good and bad, that Lil Dicky sounded lost. Like, this song was a place and Lil Dicky was just like trying to find Justin. And I don't think he found him at any point during this track.
Can take it out on me.
Take It Out on Me. Song is wonky. Like, it's wonky to the point of sounding borderline off key.
Take it out on me.
Now, there is a gospel break about halfway through the song that's really nice. Like,
Out on me.
that's cool. That sounds good. I'm a sucker for gospel, okay? I blame Kanye West. The lyrics to this song ain't it, though. He literally says, I'll be your punching bag. Hit me with all your might and get it all out until you feel light. My guy, that ain't healthy. Also, the closing instrumentals to this track sound like Tyler, the Creator, but bad. Like, they wanted that big bouncing synth. Clearly, they wanted to sound like Tyler, but you don't just decide to be Tyler because you feel like it. You know what I mean? Overall, I think we're just gonna have to move on.
Second that emotion.
Second Emotion featuring Travis Scott. Right off the bat, a highlight for me for this song was when Justin Bieber adopts this rap flow.
High heels on, heard you coming for a teacher. Movies all around, but you look like the feature.
High heels on, heard you coming for a scene. Yeah, movies all around, but you look like a feature. Why does he sound like the City Girls? Oh, wait. I can't play that in this video. I will say though, the instrumental to this song is really good, and I honestly feel like this is what they were trying to do in the last song. It has like that lo-fi, dead battery, slightly off sound. It's really nice. Like, listen to it. Super satisfying. Travis Scott shows up though. You know, of course, we got that. It's lit, yeah, straight up. And it's like, he phoned it in so half-heartedly that his ad-libs were more emotional than his actual verses. His verse was very aimless and short. Like, it was really obvious that his name was just there, so the song would get more streams. Also, Justin says ooh-wee like twice during this song, and when I tell you that I laughed. Ooh-wee. Like, you can't just, you have to either do it all the way or not at all. He tried to do it halfway and he just sounded like a clown. Also, why is Justin Bieber doing ad-libs? It sounds like he was trying to sound like Travis. Just have Travis say ooh-wee. He's literally the king of ad-libs. It would have sounded good and not laughable. And so I guess it's fitting that with all that clownery, there was like circus music at the end because they switch out one of the main instruments. Yeah, that's kind of what you deserve. Or maybe it's what I deserve for giving so much attention to this album. Get Me featuring Kalani. I honestly don't have much to say about this song because I love it. I think it's a really great song. Definitely a highlight. I have to say, Kalani and Justin Bieber, they harmonize so well. Like, listen to this. Looking at the way we're blending in, you get me. That's mad pretty. The chorus is awful though. Ha ha ha. Y'all said ha 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 as lyrics. Bring back that clown music. ETA isn't bad, but like, why does it sound like an Ed Sheeran song? Obviously, sounding like an Ed Sheeran reject is not necessarily bad because Ed Sheeran is talented at both songwriting and singing. But like, no, this just sounds like an Ed Sheeran reject. It sounds like an Ed Sheeran reject that I can understand why he rejected it, you know? What's your ETA? He's even singing like I guess the E in ETA stands for Ed, apparently. Also, the guitar is loud, and I don't know why. And I didn't just listen to it through these Bluetooth headphones. I like listened to it through Sennheiser wired headphones, and I can confirm that the guitar is just weirdly loud. Like, there's this... Bro. Ow. Justin does hit some really strong notes at the end, though, that I think sound really good. That was really good. That was nice. Ed Sheeran has entered the chat though. Changes. All right, next up is the title track, Changes. First of all, the chorus makes no sense at all. He's like, I'm going through changes. I'm going through changes. Though I'm going through changes. Don't mean that I'll change. What? Yes, it does. You just said you were going through what do you mean it doesn't mean that you've... I went through mental gymnastics to try to make this make sense, but then it dawned on me, that's not my job. Justin Bieber, you need to make it make sense. Like, no matter how I interpreted it, it was stupid. Also, he hits this la da 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 towards the end, and that's just boring and unnecessary. Like, why are there so many vocal... Whatever, man. Title track, not at all the strongest track on this album. Next. All right, we have the song Confirmation. Now, the song actually starts off really cool because, like, he starts singing. Ain't nobody got no patience. But then he's like, hold on, one more time. And then they stop the music, and you can kind of hear, like, the reverb fall off. Ain't nobody got no patience. That was cool. That was cool. I mean, it was probably fake, but... to my ears, it sounded like a real organic studio interaction. It was pretty neat. Also, in the second half of the song, there's this beautiful, like, synth that they bring in. That sounds heavenly. Like, listen to this. Quit acting like we're in a race. Begging me. Doesn't that sound like something you would find in, like, a Deadmau5 song? Also, we finally have some inspiring lyrics on this track. Like, finally. Sheesh. This was, like, the first time, besides the title track, that he was singing something, and I felt like he meant what he was singing. It says, all you ever really want, all you ever really need is at home. All you ever really want, all you ever really need is at home. It sounded like he was singing from his heart. The weird thing was, it felt out of place though. It makes me sad, like, all the jokes and the memes and the JP hate aside, it makes me legitimately sad that his sincerity and genuineness in this song was what felt out of place because of how polished and fake and safe the rest of the album was. So what should have been a highlight just felt like a reinforcement of how bad this album is. That's what love is. All right, next up we have the song That's What Love Is. Now, listen here. The chord progression in this song gives me anxiety. And I know, like, I say a lot of things like, oh, that gave me literal anxiety. No. Like, when I heard the chord change, I kind of went like, Like my fight or flight response got triggered. Listen.
Ooh, and I can feel you, even though I haven't touched you.
Why does it go up? It's like it almost sounds like something from a horror movie, and then the random guitar plucks are jumping out, kind of like a jump scare.
Wouldn't want nobody else.
The guitar sounded like so discordant. It was weird, honestly. Also, there's like this single solitary guitar pluck at the end that just pissed me off for no reason.
La, 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 la. Look at this love.
Why?
At least for now.
Alright, so last but not least, we have the song At Least For Now. And, ooh, best song on the album. Hands down, end of story. Pack it up, go home. This is the best song on the album. Right off the bat, I knew I was gonna love it because the music is kind of like folksy and it has like this exciting, it's cinematic. It sounds like something that would be in a movie. Like, listen. It's just mad pretty, honestly. Also, Justin Bieber, there's this part towards the end where he gets like a bit gravelly and has a bit of a, dare I say, twang.
Trying to avoid disappointment.
That sounded good. And then towards the end, he almost yodels. Like, it's not a full yodel, but like he almost yodels. Honestly, that was like really fun and it sounded good. Really just the best song on the album. He sounds more mature. I like the lyrics. This instrumental fit his singing style really well. It's almost like it could have been like a new direction. He could have done the whole album this way. And then like listen to the instrumental at the end, how they kind of mix acoustic, organic almost, and electronic sounds. Really, that's something that I don't hear all the time, and it could have been the rest of the album, but I'll take what I can get. I'll take this song. It's in my playlist. I will be listening to it a lot. Oh yeah, I forgot. That wasn't the last song. Technically, the last song is like this yummy remix featuring Summer Walker. Honestly, it's boring, wholly unnecessary. Summer Walker's vocals are weird, and she sounds like weirdly electronic. I literally don't care. The only part they actually like remixed was there's this part in the middle where Summer first comes on and they change up the music. Got to know you when you can't stop this, you already know. But then like it stops. Doing nothing. And goes right back to the original music. Oh, your hands on my body. So it's like, what was the point? But then here's the thing that just like the last sound on the album, they actually switch up the whole instrumental at the end of the song. And it sounds so much more soulful and pretty. Like, that's gorgeous, but you just threw it in at the end because you were too weak to experiment. And honestly, I feel like it's almost symbolic. This whole album was just them having really good ideas, but prioritizing safeness over them, so none of them actually get fleshed out. All right, so my final thoughts on the album. I didn't enjoy listening to it, the majority of it. First of all, the vocable choruses, like the wordless choruses, were far too much. There was too much yummy yum, oh, whoa, whoa, ha, 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 la, da, da, da. Like, why? Justin Bieber's vocal performance, however, for me was a highlight throughout the entire album because he just sounded pristine the whole time, and he had his moments where he really shined through with some interesting things that we've never heard from him before. So with the exception of Kalani, who sounded like she was really into it, all the features on this album were useless. Clearly they were just there because people needed to get paid and streams needed to be generated. The desperate lyrics were really starting to get to me. I mean, one of the songs, he literally says something like, run me over with your love. And then of course there's the punching bag lyric. And then there's his complete breakdown on that one song, Available. Honestly, that's just the version, or rather the vision of love that he presents on this album is not one that's fun to listen to. And I get that that's definitely like an element of love, but I feel like you should at least grow out of that at some point, right? The whole album was repetitive. Like, it was just all repetitive. The beats were repetitive. Even his lyrics were repetitive. A couple of the songs almost had the same lyrics. It was just, oof. I feel like this 17-track album could have easily been cut down to freaking 11, 10. Another thing that was weird was that Justin Bieber affected this dialect for this album. Says things like, "You got me low-key nervous. I be going through changes. No, I ain't changed. You a fool with it. Heard you coming before I seen you." Like, why? Is it because it's an R&B album? Okay, let me not think about that one too hard before I just jump to a conclusion. It was completely unnecessary. How about that? A lot of the lyrics were just gross because they were like so adult, but Justin, he wasn't really singing them. He was just kind of saying them. So it came off as really detached. Name something less attractive than somebody being completely detached from what they're saying to you. The production on this album was really good though. I know I said that the songs were boring and repetitive, but that doesn't mean they were bad. A lot of the instrumentals were really cool, just as concepts, not as entire songs. But as I pointed out, some of these moments really shined. So I almost feel like this album was more so a win for Pooh Bear, the producer, than it was for Justin. In conclusion, Justin Bieber, you get a C-. Like, you pass with this album. Congrats, you didn't fail. I mean, none of the songs have poor vocals, none of them have bad beats per se, but you didn't try. Or more specifically, you did try, but you didn't let yourself try. You know, for an album called Changes, Justin Bieber and his production team seem wholly unwilling to commit to any sort of change from his pre-established style. So sad, but honestly, I can feel however I want to feel about the album. He probably made several $1 million just on the opening day, so honestly, who cares?